my love for you. You tell me that you love me. You tell me that you love me. I dream of you whenever I'm not with you. My love, my love, my love for you. I believe it. I believe it.
And thanks for joining us. It is Friday night. It is the Be Progressive Show. I am Brandon Neal. It is December the 18th. We are going to do a wrap-up of the week of all the crazy MAGA crap that's happened so far. So anyway, let's take a look and see what I want to start off. What story? We have so many. Let's see where we want to start tonight. Let's talk about. I want to talk about this Governor Kemp thing because this is pretty funny because I knew this was eventually going to happen. So what we have here is the Sidney Powell, the Lynn Wood, the Rudy Giuliani, Jenna Ellis crazy group, the lawyers for Donald Trump, have put on a masterful clinic on how to fail in public and how to be a clown show. And so they, during their clown show, has pushed this idea that the machines that are used to vote in Georgia are compromised. That is why Donald Trump lost the election. Therefore, the Republican Party should not at all vote again January 5th on the Senate runoff race because they're compromised. So they say you shouldn't vote at all. Okay, well, that's fine as a progressive by me, and all the Democrats think that's a great idea. So I think you should run with that. But in doing so, in pushing this idea and keeping this Donald Trump won and was cheated conspiracy theory, they started leaning on Governor Kemp to give them what they want, which is to somehow magically just throw out all the ballots that came in and just say Trump won. And they're wanting him to call special session of the legislature. They're wanting him to do all of these things that the radical base is pushing, and then Donald Trump parrots it, and then Donald Trump himself on Twitter runs his mouth about about Kemp and says all these things that aren't true, and man, he'd had enough. So we're going to watch a little bit of this here. I haven't watched all of this, but then we'll get into the article. So
your vote 4 days now into early voting for the January Senate runoffs. We're getting a better idea of how many Georgians wanted their voices heard. New records from the state show nearly 76,000 new voters registered before the December 7th deadline. And by now, you're familiar with all of these faces. Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler up against Reverend Raphael Warnock, Republican Senator David Perdue running against Jon Ossoff. Early voting runs now through New Year's Eve, Election Day, Tuesday, January 5th. Let's bring in Channel 2's investigative reporter, Justin Gray.
So, Justin, you talked to the governor in the last hour, and he said he's confident Loeffler and Perdue will keep their seats. Of course, he's going to say that he's a Republican, but he also had harsh words for critics.
Yeah, Justin, it was clear when we talked to the governor that he had something he wanted to get off his chest. He is fed up with what he called the, quote, misinformation surrounding Georgia's election, all those conspiracy theories spreading on social media. He said the rule in the Kemp household is that there's no crying in politics, but he said the threats directed on social media against his daughters, his wife.
So let's pause it right there real quick. There have been threats on Governor Kemp's, his life, his wife, his kids. They've threatened to burn down his home. Now, these are all of the people that tell you the left are violent and that all the left does is riot and loot and tear and burn buildings down. But then the instant that an election doesn't go their way, they're trying to kidnap the governor of Michigan. There was a plot foiled by a right-wing group. And now they're going after the governor now. And so it's nice to see that these crazy fuckers are finally going after their makers. So their makers can see how awful and how impactful their messaging is, either through the governorship or through the presidency, of how important it is to rein your crazy radical base in. You've got to get control of that, because really those people will do anything Donald Trump says. Anything. So if he could have put a stop to a lot of this, but he's let it go, because at first they were attacking the Democrats, and so that's okay, but now the chickens came home to roost, and Kemp's getting death threats and his family's getting death threats. Yep, it's time he's going to start speaking up.
Against the families of other elected officials in the state have simply gone too far. Just in the past 24 hours, there have been baseless conspiracy theories spread about the death of a GBI officer and also a young Republican aide close to the Kemp family.
This needs to stop. People need to deal with facts, and we'll give them to them. And if anybody has an issue with something I've done, they need to come see me, and I'll talk to them about it. They don't need to bother my wife or my children or any other person that's serving an elective office, their wife or children. Because I can assure you, I can handle myself, and if they're brave enough to come out from underneath that keyboard or behind it, we can have a little conversation if they would like to. As far as I know, my relationship with the president's fine. I know he's frustrated. Him and I have disagreed on things before. You know, when Mike Pence was here one time, he said, you always know where the president stands. And we know where he stands, but look, at the end of the day, I've got to follow the laws and the constitutions of the Constitution of this state.
Are you concerned that he is furthering some of these conspiracy theories that are leading to the problems you're worried about?
Good question.
Well, my concern right now politically is to get David Perdue reelected to the United States Senate and send Kelly Loeffler back up there to doing the great job that they're doing.
And clearly the governor does not think all this misdirection, these conspiracy theories are helping that effort. Again, he told us he had the same message for President Trump on the phone that he's had for other people who have called and emailed his office. He says his responsibility is to follow the law and the Georgia Constitution, and he says he is doing that. Reporting live at the state capitol tonight, Justin Gray, Channel 2 Action News.
So, Governor Kemp knows what's going on. He knows. They all know. They all know. You know, there's very few people, I believe, that are in the MAGAverse right now in terms of elected officials. I'm not talking about the base. But there are, anybody that thinks that he actually got cheated like he did. You know, a lot of these people have seen a chance. And that's the problem with our political system, is sometimes, you know, they see a chance to get popular on an issue, It's, it's like one of those no, you can do no wrong kind of things where you take a stand on, I'm a patriot taking a stand and doing all these things. And it's, yeah, I mean, this whole mess could have been avoided had Donald Trump just put an end to this, because I don't like Governor Kemp. I don't like his policies at all. I don't know him personally. Maybe he's a nice guy. Maybe he's an asshole. I don't know. But calling and threatening him and his wife and his family because you are pissed off that your cult leader president lost the election and you're mad that he's not trying to steal it or do something illegal to get it back is ridiculous. Political violence to begin with is ridiculous. But it mainly is focused around right-wing groups. And were there violent Antifa people? Yeah, of course there are. Both sides have got their crazies. And I'm not saying that Antifa's crazy or that they're all crazy, but there are people that, are out to do bad things. And, both sides have kind of got that. But the right, when it comes to literal actual political violence, blowing up the Oklahoma City bombing and blowing up abortion clinics, and if all you have to do is stop by the Homeland Security and look at the statistics of domestic terrorism, and it's mainly right wing. And so you've taken that base and then you've made him a cult with Donald Trump, and then now Donald Trump gets beat, so these people can be very dangerous, very dangerous. And I don't blame Kemp at all for calling him out. The only thing I blame him for is he's still too big of a fucking coward to call out Donald Trump for his bullshit. They're going to cover for that all the way to the end. But that would be what impressed me the most, is if he actually grew a set of balls and called out Donald Trump, because this is Donald Trump's fault. Period. Just no other way around it. All right, moving on here. Let's see what we got. I saw this article. This is the anti-vaxxers and your alt-right MAGA groups that are causing problems with COVID-19, as we all already knew that. But the vaccine is out, and the Moderna vaccine was approved FDA today. So now we have Pfizer and Moderna both. And hopefully we can get they're going to be shipped out, nationwide. My wife's a physician. She's already gotten hers, so they're out. They're on their way. But how much good is this going to do if you've got 30% or more of your population that thinks it's bullshit and refuses to take it? So let's read a little bit here. It says, this is from Stockton, California. As California and the nation begin rolling out coronavirus vaccines, anti-vax campaigners are aligning with small business owners and far-right groups, an effort that some experts fear could supercharge mistrust of government in a crucial moment for public health, which is completely true. In California, the movement toward business is being led by a group calling itself Freedom Angels 2.0, originally founded by 3 women in response to the 2019 state bill tightening vaccine requirements for attendance in schools. The organization was best known for its protest at the state capitol against the measure and the other vaccine legislation, often filling hallways and disrupting hearings with children in tow. But as the virus has spread, so has its message, encompassing a more mainstream values-driven ideology that centers on government overreach. The broader approach had helped the organization interest a new audience in the business community, along with others worried about schools and the economy and the social toll of isolation for seniors. So, quote, there is this strategic mission creep into other groups that might feel disaffected, said Richard Capriano, a professor of public policy of sociology at UC Riverside, who has followed the anti-vax movement. At the same time, extremist experts have warned that militant groups who have been protesting election results and lockdowns across the country also turn their attention to the anti-vax movement, where they see a cause that could now unite followers after a presidential transition. So basically what this article is saying is you already had these anti-vax people, these crazy nut jobs, and then we had a pandemic that turned political, And so these anti-vax people and the MAGAverse have combined together to form Ignorance Voltron, and this is what we get. So this is going to be a big problem, I believe, with the vaccinations if we have this many people refusing to take it or mistrust. You know, I mean, I just don't know what to tell these people. It's easy just to say these people are just, you know, dumb and write them off, but you can't do that in a pandemic. You know, we were really only as strong as our weakest link there. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up because the anti-vaxxers really get me going. So I'm not going to get into it too deep and get too pissed off, but we're moving on to something actually does really piss me off. And that's the COVID relief fund and the stimulus bill. And we've been fighting over this. Both Republican parties have been fighting over this, Pelosi and the Democratic Republican Party, and then the Republican Party. And they basically are wanting to not give the citizens any stimulus check whatsoever. They wanted to just hide behind saying that they were going to give small businesses a bigger loan, and they have an inflated number. They're actually only increasing that number by like 180 billion or million or something, but it's somewhere close to, not far off from what they had before. That's money that just really hasn't been allocated yet, as far as I can see. But they passed a temporary funding bill, and it approved. It was a voice vote that almost immediately afterward they sent it to President Trump, and then McConnell said both sides remain intent on closing the deal, even as Democrats launched a concerted campaign to block an effort by Republicans to rein emergency federal lending powers. The Democrats said that the GOP proposal would deprive President-elect Joe Biden of crucial tools to maintain the economy. But talks have been continuing, and it was $1,200 stimulus check, and now it was last I heard it was dropped down to $600. And they were gonna, I think the if you had a child last time, it was $500 that you got, and then $1,200 per adult. And this time I actually think that they have just taken it from 12 down to 600 and raised the child up by 100, so now everyone's $600. And I'm not really even sure whether or not that's going to happen. I want to read this paragraph here. It says the emerging agreement would deliver more than $300 billion in aid to businesses and provide jobless a $300 per week bonus federal unemployment benefit and renewal of state benefits that would otherwise expire right after Christmas. It also includes $600 direct payment. So this is the $600 I was talking about. They still have not came to an agreement on this, and it is a tragedy that how quickly we will waltz in and pass a $500 billion defense budget like that and not even think about it. But when it comes to doing the right thing that makes sense to help the citizens of this country after we have totally fucked them over by closing everything, making people stay at home, not work, and sending them $1,200 in a 7-month span. Fuck you. I mean, that's ridiculous. That is a slap in the face. That proves why Congress has about a 9 to 10% approval rating in this country. Because they don't give a shit anymore about the people at all. All they care about is their lobbyists and their corporate donors, and that's it. And this has been a shining example of the failure of this administration and the government as a whole to not get these checks out to people. Other countries actually subsidize salaries for people and said, stay home, we're still going to pay you what you get paid normally. And you would act like it was the biggest socialist plot to take over the country if you brought that up in the United States. I mean, just pure ignorance. The countries that did this are fine. Their unemployment's low. Everybody's back to work. They took care of it. When they have a second wave or a third wave, they can quickly shut it down. Nobody gets left behind. Everybody gets paid the same amount they were getting paid. And then when it's over, they move on. And other countries have done this. I'm sick to death of watching other countries do what we need to be doing. I'm sick to death of watching Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, all these places with universal healthcare systems. All of these countries that run a social democracy with a large social safety net for the people, where the people come first and then the corporations and the businesses come second. And this is something that drives me crazy, because we look at these countries, we see, oh, if you measure metrics wise, they beat us in almost every measurable metric. You sure don't see a lot of immigrants coming from those countries to ours. You sure don't see a lot of these other countries trying to steal our healthcare system. It's ridiculous. So anyway, that's my rant on that. But the stimulus, if this gets passed, the $600 is a slap in the face. It is just a slap in the face. $1,200 is a slap in the face. At this point, it should be fucking $2,000 retroactive for the last 7 months is what you should be actually giving people. But of course, we know that will not happen. So get your head out of your ass and get people checks. It's ridiculous. People in this country, 30 or 50% of the country makes $30,000 or less per year. 50% of the country. And then you're going to put them at home for 7 months and say, don't work, and we're not going to give you any money other than $1,200? Get the fuck out of here. Just get the fuck out of here. And then we have twatbag Ron Johnson, who on Friday blocked an effort to pass a second round of stimulus checks, arguing that the coronavirus relief needs to be targeted and raising concerns about the country's debt and the deficit. A fucking Republican worried about the deficit. Biden hasn't even taken office yet. He's not even president yet, and they're already starting to worry about the deficit. They at least usually wait till the Democrat gets in power before they start worrying about the deficit. They blew the fucking deficit through the roof with their tax cuts for the rich. Yeah, I'd be worried about the deficit too, because you just fucking blew it up. But you can't say, because you did that we now can't help our citizens because we were greedy fuckers that did this. No, fuck you. Ron Johnson needs to sit down and shut up, because this man has absolutely no idea. Absolutely. He said today on Twitter, the best stimulus is a job. I don't know who's going to run against Ron in the future, or if he's going to run. I don't know much about him. But you can bet your ass I will be donating hard-earned money to whoever runs against this piece of dog crap. That's all I have to say about that. All right. This was worth mentioning tonight is the 1-year anniversary of Donald Trump being impeached. And it was worth mentioning, even though my view on that whole impeachment was a little different than most people. The Russia thing was a bunch of horseshit. They could have impeached and removed him on things that actually mattered, but unfortunately the Democrats are guilty of a lot of those things too, so they didn't want to prosecute the Republican when they themselves have done it, and it wasn't handled properly. We all know that. Had it been handled properly and him be charged of what he should have been charged with, he would have been gone. But anyway, that's our one-term loser impeached president anniversary of that. So that's pretty good. I saw this. I wanted to bring this up because it made me laugh. I don't know who Greta Wall is, a right-winger. I don't really, OAN person, says that the FDA has granted emergency use authorization for Moderna's coronavirus vaccine. And someone responded, who gets priority for Moderna's vaccine? Illegals and other people of color? And I said, well, Trumpers don't get it because they said it was a hoax. Just pray it away. And they said, I haven't taken any vaccine in years. I don't get sick because I have a healthy lifestyle and I worked and always paid my own way. I don't need crutches like welfare and drugs to get through the day. Man, Twitter is full of dumb people. Just dumb people. So, let's see here. I think that's all I wanted to talk. Oh, I was going to talk about this Lou Dobbs thing a little bit, and then I want to go into a little bit with the Jimmy Dore thing. I wanted to mention this Lou Dobbs thing because it doesn't make any sense, because they've been lying about Smartmatic voting machines. And they've been saying that they were just as bad as Dominion. And as a matter of fact, Smartmatic even, I think they were the first ones to send out threatening lawsuits to Sidney Powell and to, Rudy Giuliani and these people, saying that, basically claiming libel, which they are, they would win that case very easily. But they were bitching about on Fox News, and Lou Dobbs specifically, about Smartmatic not long ago, and claiming all of that horseshit. So maybe this is their little, like, hey, we'll run a pro segment if you drop this thing, and we'll leave it at that. And that's my guess on why this has happened, because this is too much of a 180 not to be suspicious. So I'll play this clip here real quick.
Lots of opinions about the integrity of the election, the irregularities of mail-in voting, of election voting machines and voting software. One of the companies is Smartmatic, and we reached out to one of the leading authorities on open source software for elections, Eddie Perez, for his insight and views. Eddie is the Global Director of Tech Development at the Open Source Election Technology Institute. We asked him for his assessment of Smartmatic and recent claims about the company.
Have you seen any evidence that Smartmatic software was used to flip votes anywhere in the U.S. in this election?
I have not seen any evidence that Smartmatic software was used to delete, change, alter anything related to vote tabulation.
Smartmatic says its software
Sorry,
was never
Megan.
used outside of L.A. County in 2020. Do you know whether or not that's true?
That is my understanding. Smartmatic functioned as the contract manufacturer for the Los Angeles County voting system, and that was a customized system that was effectively built to the county's order. I am not aware of them having any other direct customers, relationships with election officials in the United States.
What about Smartmatic and Dominion? Do you know if they're related, whether one owns the other, whether Dominion uses Smartmatic software?
Both Dominion and Smartmatic have individually and respectively put out very clear statements from their corporate headquarters, each of them indicating they are independent companies, they are not related to each other. It is my understanding that neither one of them has an ownership stake in the other or anything like that. They are, again, for all intents and purposes, two completely separate companies.
Have you seen any evidence of a connection between George Soros and Smartmatic?
I'm not aware of any direct connection between George Soros and Smartmatic. It is my understanding that an executive at Smartmatic has some sort of relationship with one of Soros's foundations. That's the extent of my knowledge.
Have you seen any evidence of Smartmatic sending U.S. votes to be tabulated in foreign countries?
No, I'm not aware of any evidence that Smartmatic is sending
horseshit.
U.S. votes to be tabulated in foreign countries. Again,
So I guess that's all we get on that one. But I think that the Smartmatic company and Dominion both have good libel cases against Newsmax and OAN, Fox News, and all of these people that they've sent the letters to. And, you're attacking the core of their business when you're saying that this voting machine can be either is or can be easily rigged, and that they, or that they're tied to political groups that are, trying to rig an election. You're attacking their core business. So that is going to be a libel case that they win. That would be, I gave this example the other night, like saying that children's Tylenol makes children sick or could kill them, and then you do a whole campaign about it, but there's no evidence of it at all, but you're just saying that. So, yeah, you're going to get shut down. Or if you say all GM vehicles catch on fire after so many miles if you do this, or whatever. That's their business. That's directly affects their business. So I understand why they sent those those letters out, and they will win those cases. And I said right off the bat the other day when I found this out I said Fox News will do a retraction, the other two will not. And the reason I say that is Fox News is big enough and smart enough to know they've been through this before. They've probably been sued before many times. So they understand that they can do it. And I would not doubt if this Lou Dobbs segment where they're talking about basically clearing the name of Smartmatic for Fox News viewers, that may have been a trade-off. That may have been what they've done, because really I haven't seen anything else on it other than that since they've sent the letters out. So I don't know. That's interesting. We'll be able to find that out later, but pretty crazy stuff. So anyway, I think that's all we got for this evening. Everybody go out, don't go out. I almost said go out. It's Friday night, but don't go out because there's a pandemic. Anyway, stay in, have a few drinks, have a good time. Anyway, thanks for stopping by, guys. I really appreciate it. Could you please subscribe, like, and comment? That really helps the new YouTube creators like myself. I haven't even been on for 30 days yet, so any like, comment, and subscription really is appreciated. So thanks for stopping by, and